Oftentimes, when I am talking about these play to earn crypto games, people ask a ton of questions either in my DMs or in the comments about which gaming coins they should be buying, because all feature a really cool up and coming massive multiplayer online role-playing game like Mirandus, and then people are gonna be like, well, what coin should I buy from Mirandus? Or is it a good idea to buy a coin from Mirandus? Or I'll talk about Star Atlas and people are like, should I buy Atlas coin or Polis coin? There's a lot of questions when it comes to the cryptocurrencies that are related to these games that I cover here on On-Chain Gaming. So in this video, I want to just talk about how to value gaming coins, kind of the different types of gaming coins that can exist, and yeah, how to decide whether or not you should pick up a coin now or wait, or whether a coin's expensive or cheap, all that kind of stuff. So if that sounds good to you, remember to leave a big thumbs up on this video, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and let's get into it.
On-Chain Gaming.
So the first thing that you guys need to know when it comes to buying cryptocurrencies that are connected to games is that there are two different kinds generally. I mean, there's a lot of variations within these two kinds, but there's generally two different kinds of gaming coins. The first type of gaming coin is a utility coin, where the coin is used to power the ecosystem. It is the kind of liquid asset that transfers in these games, and it's used for buying NFTs, it's used to power the ecosystem, and it's that kind of thing, but there's not actually any governance control given to the owners of the coin, and there can either be a max supply, which makes it a little bit more like Bitcoin, or there can be an infinite supply, and more of it can be created to just power and fund the economy. And this type of coin is oftentimes mistaken for the other type of coin, which is more of a governance coin. And oftentimes these kind of coins can be connected to earnings potential. And AXS, for example, it is this type of coin where the amount of volume in the Axie Infinity marketplace actually funds the treasury, which if you own AXS, you control. So there's actually a little bit more behind the coin. It's not just a currency meant to be traded back and forth. It can still be traded, but actually owning it gives you power in the community and might actually give you voting power on how to control funds and that kind of thing. So these are two very different kinds of coins, and they should be valued very differently. So I just want to give you a couple examples of coins, and then you kind of guess which one they fall on, and then I'll tell you, and this will kind of help getting your mind work in the right way. So let's start with Gala coin. Is Gala coin a utility coin, or is it like a DAO controlled governance token? So utility or governance? Well, Gala coin is actually not connected to any kind of voting power. If you want voting power in the Gala Games ecosystem, then you need to own a Gala Games node. That is what will give you earnings power and voting power in the ecosystem. So I would say a Gala Games node is kind of more like a governance coin, even though they're not on the blockchain yet. And then Gala coin is more the utility side. AXS, I already said that it was on the governance side, but one that gets people confused a lot is the new Star Atlas token. Is the new Star Atlas token a utility coin or a governance coin? Well, Star Atlas actually has two coins, and the Atlas one is a utility coin just meant to be the currency in the ecosystem. And Polis coin, Star Atlas's second coin, which is actually far less popular because I don't think people really understand. Polis coin is actually the governance coin behind Star Atlas that's going to be able to make decisions about the future of the metaverse. And Polis coin has a lot more behind it on that side of actually giving you something for owning it than Atlas does. Atlas is still useful because you're going to be able to use it in the ecosystem, and that's how you're going to buy fuel for your ships and that kind of thing. But it's important to just know that not all coins are created equal. All right, but then how do you actually value these two different sorts of coins? How do you know if a utility coin is too expensive or too cheap? Or how do you know if a governance coin or something like Axie Infinity, which is actually connected to revenue, how do you know if this kind of coin is too expensive or too cheap? So my background actually comes from the stock market. Before I got into on-chain gaming, I was not in crypto really before that. I was in stocks, and I built a stock market portfolio starting from about $14,000 up to over $1 million by valuing companies well, looking at growth, perspectives and saying, okay, this is actually pretty undervalued compared to what the company is going to be making 4 or 5 years from now. And as a long-term investor, that is how I built up my investment portfolio. So I actually think that even though in crypto, I feel like it's a lot more degen-ish in the sense that like, just buy what you think is cool. There's a lot less value calculation trying to understand if something is overvalued or undervalued, but I think you can still apply what we have learned from hundreds of years of the stock market existing and the wisdom that you can get from the great investors of history. You can take a lot of that same wisdom and apply it to the crypto marketplace. So let's talk a little bit about how I personally value utility coins. So there is a couple factors that goes into my evaluation of a utility coin. Because when I think about a utility coin, I think about it a lot more as though it is a currency. And maybe you could look at the market cap of like the US currency or the Japanese currency or the German currency and then think, okay, what are the GDPs of those countries? And based on those GDPs, what's the total market cap of the currency? And you could kind of apply that to a utility coin. So for example, Gala Games coin, you could be like, all right, what is the GDP of the Gala Games ecosystem? Like how much money is actually generated in the Gala Games ecosystem every year? And like once the Mirandus economy gets put on top of that, like what is gonna be the GDP of Mirandus? And you can kind of then compare it to a country's currency and be like, what should this currency possibly be worth? But one really important thing to note for a lot of these coins that are utility coins like Gala coin is that there's a max total supply. So at a certain point, they're gonna operate a bit more like Bitcoin where there's gonna be no inflation of the coin. And you have to figure out, okay, what is that value really gonna be? So that is one factor, is you can kind of just try to value it based on like real world things, like a real world currency. But there's another way that you can kind of try to predict what future value might be. So determining current value is important because it can kind of help you judge whether or not it might be overvalued or undervalued, but it's overvalued and undervalued compared to what? And what I like to compare it to is what the currency might be worth 4 years from now, or 5 years from now, or even 10 years from now, because I'm a super long-term thinker. And when I see an ecosystem that's growing, that's getting like more countries kind of put onto it, as in more games that will generate more GDP and that kind of thing, like that's really bullish for how the country is gonna grow and the value of the country's currency, even though these gaming companies are obviously not countries at all, and they're still gonna have to pay taxes to the US government and stuff like that if they're based in the United States. It helps me think about it in a different way that allows me to kind of value it a little bit. The most important thing, I think, oftentimes is gonna be, all right, if people are valuing it at this much now, and this is what's currently going on, do I think more people are gonna value it or want to own it in the future, or less people are gonna want to value it and own it in the future? And if it's a trajectory of more and more people are gonna be figuring out about this, more and more people are gonna be excited about this than are excited about it now because there's something real that's actually being built, then oftentimes that's a really strong buy signal where when you buy something, guys, it could go down or up in the short term. I think it's really oftentimes a 50-50. Now, you can, like in the really short term, whether or not it's gonna go down the next day or up the next day, nobody knows at all. It's impossible to be able to predict that consistently. But I think you can predict how a coin is gonna do in the long term. Now let's switch focus over to these governance tokens. And at the very end of this video, I wanna go through a couple actual coins, like look through them. But on the governance side, it's a little bit different because like for AXS, for example, you can actually look at how much revenue is being generated by the protocol. And you can kind of really calculate it. Like you can compare AXS to Roblox stock, for example. And even though AXS isn't a stock, it's a crypto, and Roblox is a stock, it's like they actually are kind of comparable because they both have revenue that's coming in, and as an owner of the asset, you kind of have some control. Now, AXS is set up in a way to try and not violate certain laws and stuff, and AXS is also not a US company. So maybe there's some regulatory risks and stuff to owning a cryptocurrency that should discount it a little bit compared to owning a stock, but you can really run those types of calculations on governance protocols that do have kind of revenue control. So that is one way that you can value a governance coin. But another way you can value a governance coin is kind of looking at the ecosystem and comparing it to other coins that have similar ecosystems or have like a similar role in their ecosystem, and see like, okay, what is this governance ecosystem valued at compared to this one, compared to that one, compared to the size of their communities and how much revenue they're actually generating and how fun the games actually are and how much growth potential. And you can kind of compare them to each other. And oftentimes you can find undervalued coins simply by doing that. But there is one danger to this, and that is that sometimes certain sectors are overvalued and you're only valuing coins to other coins in the same sector. It's like you can either they could all be overvalued or they could all be undervalued. So it's important to like compare things to other things that you would be paying the same amount for. And guys, when you're looking at the value of these coins, remember the price is not what matters. What matters is the market cap of these coins and the fully diluted market cap of these coins. That's what you're really paying for these coins. And the actual dollar amount, that is just determined based on how many coins exist. So like if there's 100 coins, then the dollar amount might be really high, but it might actually be really cheap. Whereas if there's 1 trillion coins, the dollar amount per coin might be really, really cheap, but the actual cost that you're paying for the percentage of ownership that you're getting might be very large because you're getting so small per coin. So it's like looking at the market cap, that's what actually matters. That's what you're actually paying for when it comes to a gaming coin. Now let's look at a couple coins specifically. So let's start out, let's look at Gala, and we can see that the market cap of Gala coin, now remember Gala coin is a utility coin, but it does have a max supply. It currently has a fully diluted valuation of $1 billion, but the market cap currently based on the current number of coins that exist is 160 million market cap. And if you're just looking at one coin, you have really no idea what to compare that to. But by looking at other coins, we can kind of see, okay, how expensive is Gala coin compared to other coins? So now let's move over here to Illuvium. Now, it's important to note that Gala does already have one game released, which is Townstar, and they're working on improving it, but it is playable now. Illuvium is entirely a future game. People are betting on a game that's not released yet, that we currently can't play, but I personally am very confident that Illuvium is both gonna come out and it's gonna be very fun as well. But Illuvium, you can see it's $488, but once again, that's not what matters. What matters is the market cap. So the market cap is 310 million, and the fully diluted valuation is actually $4.8 billion. So if we then are just trying to compare Illuvium to Gala, and remember Illuvium is a governance coin, Gala is a utility coin, so it makes it slightly difficult to compare because it's kind of apples and oranges, but they are both coins for gaming ecosystems. And we can see though that Gala is about half as much current market cap, but about 5 times or 4.8 times less fully diluted market cap. So Gala is quite a bit cheaper than Illuvium is, but Gala also doesn't give you governance control. It's only a utility coin, and Illuvium does give you governance control. So in order to really compare Illuvium to something else, we would have to look at like Axie Infinity coin. So actually, let's do that. Let's look at Axie Infinity coin because it's a better comparison to Illuvium. And Axie Infinity coin, you can see it currently has a market cap of $4 billion and a fully diluted valuation of $19 billion. So now we're looking at a governance coin for Axie Infinity, and we're looking at the governance coin for Illuvium, and you can see that a $4.8 billion fully diluted valuation on Illuvium is a lot less than a $19 billion valuation fully diluted on Axie Infinity. It's about 4 times more expensive to buy AXS than it is to buy Illuvium. But you also have to remember that AXS is a governance coin for a game that already exists, for a game that already has 1 million monthly players. So it's very different. and far more established to buy AXS, which is already generating revenue, compared to buying Illuvium, which is betting on a future game that's not released yet. Now, it's very possible if Illuvium gets 1 million players like Axie has, which I think is actually a pretty decent possibility, then Illuvium could be looking at a 4x. And the way that you kind of determine that is by saying, all right, these are both, they are very different coins, but they're both governance coins. They're both governing a gaming protocol. And Axie Infinity is currently 4 times more valuable than Illuvium is, even though the dollar amount for Axie Infinity is lower, and that's what tricks people. But if you're actually looking at the market cap, Illuvium could have a 4x ahead if they launch successfully and get 1 million players. So you have to make a determination yourself now, like do your research into the company, watch a lot of the other interviews that I've had with the team behind Illuvium. I've interviewed both of the co-founders, Aaron Warwick and Kieran Warwick, and you can learn a lot about their dream and their vision and their team and the progress that they've been making in order to make that assessment. But if you think that Illuvium is going to be just as or more popular than Axie Infinity, then you could say, hey, this is actually probably a good buy right now to pick up Illuvium. And that's kind of how you determine whether or not to buy or not buy a crypto. You have to kind of see how it's valued compared to the market that it's in. And that is one of the factors that you can definitely look at. So let's look at another governance coin now, which is Polis, which is the Star Atlas DAO, which DAO just stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. It's just like the owners of the protocol, just like AXS is a DAO and Illuvium is a DAO, the owners of the protocol get to determine, they have voting power over the actual game and studio and how treasuries are spent and that kind of thing, depending on how the coin is set up. So Star Atlas, currently we can see the market cap is $254 million with a fully diluted valuation of 4.2 billion. So Star Atlas is another unreleased game. It's actually very comparable, I would say, to Illuvium, although Illuvium is going to release sooner. Illuvium is probably going to be ready to launch in early 2022, whereas Star Atlas doesn't actually have a release date yet for the full Unreal Engine 5 game, and honestly, it's probably 5 years plus out. So if you're looking at when a game's going to launch, Illuvium's going to be here much sooner than Star Atlas, but Star Atlas does have mini games and that kind of stuff launching this year. So there will be playable stuff for Star Atlas as well. So maybe they're slightly more comparable if you're looking at all the playable experiences that Star Atlas has, not just Unreal Engine 5, the main game that they're building. But if we compare Star Atlas, the Polis token, the governance token, to Illuvium, we can see that Illuvium is actually just slightly more expensive than Atlas. So maybe that means that they're both kind of fairly valued against each other, considering how much further out Star Atlas is from releasing. But also, some people might say Star Atlas is going to be a much better game than Illuvium, or Illuvium is going to be a much better game than Star Atlas. And this is kind of how you can make your bets, which is why crypto gaming is kind of fun, because you get to invest in the games that you believe in most. And yeah, so we can kind of see though that Star Atlas is also far cheaper than AXS coin is. But let's actually look at Atlas coin. I'd like to compare Atlas coin to Gala Games. I think that would be kind of an interesting comparison because both Atlas and Gala are utility coins. So Atlas is actually worth more fully diluted, actually, the valuation, about the same total market cap, current market cap though, as Polis. But remember, Atlas is just the utility coin for Star Atlas, which still is going to have value because you're going to be able to use it and it will be necessary to use in the game world. But yeah, Atlas is worth 300 million currently, compared to Gala, which is only worth 160 million. So personally, I feel like Gala coin is probably undervalued compared to Atlas coin, or you could say maybe Atlas coin is overvalued compared to when the game's actually going to come out. But things could change very fast, because if Atlas actually has some playable mini games out this year and people are actually needing Atlas in order to refill their ships and complete missions so that they can play to earn the game, then maybe the demand for Atlas starts increasing a ton and we actually see Atlas go up a ton. So it's important at the very base to understand what a coin actually is, what a coin is actually used for, and to understand fundamentally how expensive a coin is compared to other coins. But then the skill, the talent, the art comes in when you're deciding what you actually want to purchase and when you're actually making bets on which coins are going to see the most appreciation going forward. And that is where we all have to make our own bets. Like, I will tell you which games I'm most excited about. I'll tell you which games I think have the most potential, but I'm not a financial advisor, and you guys need to decide which games you're actually going to be investing in yourself. And I just hope that this video has helped you realize that there's a difference between a utility coin and a governance coin, and how you can then assess valuations. And it's very easy, guys. If you're not sure what a coin is actually used for, go to these games white papers and read about it, or go to the FAQs on these games websites, and you can discover, they'll tell you what coins are used for. Like Star Atlas has a whole economic white paper which breaks it all down. It tells you the inflation rates and everything of these coins going forward, so everything is known to everyone who owns these coins. And simply by doing research, you're gonna avoid a lot of bad investments, and you're gonna find a lot of good investments, because to be honest, in the crypto space, I feel like a lot of people don't do any research. So if you're doing some amount of research, it's definitely gonna give you an advantage over the masses. So if you guys found this video helpful, remember to leave a big thumbs up, because that will help out the video in the YouTube algorithm, and we really appreciate it. It will cause the video to get promoted to more people. So if this video was helpful to you, then a thumbs up would be much, much appreciated. And then also, if you're not subscribed yet and you watch this whole video, what are you doing? Make sure you hit subscribe and click that notification bell, and you will not miss any future content. Most of the time I'm not talking about coins and stuff. Most of the time I'm talking about the games, but then oftentimes I bring the coin in, talk about it a little bit. But this channel, On-Chain Gaming, is focused on the future of games on the blockchain, the future of the metaverse, and play to earn experiences where players really have ownership, and the value that you generate in these worlds is gonna give you real value in real life, that you might be able to pay your rent, or you'll be able to buy your food with coins that you make in these games. And I just think that it's an incredibly exciting future, and I hope that you join us on the journey. And I will end by saying thank you to our incredible Patreon supporters. You guys enable us to make this content, and we really appreciate it. I'm not making these videos by myself. Nate, my brother, edits. Josh, our friend, does original music for these videos. And yeah, we just really appreciate your support. So until next time, everyone, have fun roaming the metaverse.